Good evening and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. We have almost a full house this week, boys. We've got Kevin, George, Martin. Good to see you, lads. We talked backstage or in the green room, as we like to call it, about spreading a little bit of positivity. How are we feeling 2 days to go until kickoff in the second game of the season?
Be honest, lads. Be honest.
So much for this positivity. It's gone quiet all of a sudden.
It's gone very quiet.
I'm still really pissed off. I've got to be honest. Yeah, I'm hoping by the end of the podcast, chatting to you wonderful souls, I'll get Martin's dulcet tones. George's normally got a positive spin. Rich man of your obviously intellect. I'm hoping you'll all come together and make me feel a bit better. But at the moment, I'm still really annoyed. I keep thinking it's 3 points dropped already in our quest for top 4. Yeah, so
yeah, Kevin, relax. I know we were hoping for Europe, but I'm not hoping for that Europe just yet. Let's relax here a minute.
Okay, the quest for the top 15, 3 points dropped.
Yeah, I'm slowly getting over the absolute disgrace of last Saturday, and it's the first home game of the season against a team we normally do okay against. So yeah, I'm starting to get a bit more positive, and I fancy our chances on Saturday.
But George, that's what's annoying me, mate. Because I was thinking exactly the same thing. Everton, great record, and then they've gone and put Connor Cody, like an England international, couple of midfielders. I'm thinking, hang on a minute, the momentum's going to be high, positivity. I don't know. I've got this weird, horrible feeling in my head.
Well, here's a positive thing for you, right? Ever since we've been promoted in our last 5 meetings against Everton, we've won 3, we've drawn 2. So
wait. We'll get into the stats in a bit.
He's got in far too early.
We will get into the stats in a bit.
I'm going into this game.
Whoa! Hold your horses. We've got Statman George's corner later.
Statman
pissed right on my cornflakes there, Martin.
Yeah, Martin. We've got George's section later.
Everyone's just going all.
So yeah, before we get on to Everton, and we might even have an Everton fan with us later to preview the show, to preview the game. Sorry, on Saturday. They're obviously needing a win as well, but as I say, we'll get into that in a little while. But there has been some. I mean, I was going to talk as well about obviously the conversation this week because we haven't heard a lot from Steven Gerrard. He's kind of kept a real low profile. I'm not sure if he's done his news conference as yet. So it's obviously fueled a lot of conversation about Saturday's result and the pressure that he might be under, and the comments about Tyrone Mings. Martin, you weren't on the last pod on Tuesday. We did it in the end. But what did you make of the sort of comments from Gerrard and the kind of subsequent media frenzy almost about the pressure that he might be under?
I think it's all kind of taken out a little bit out of proportion because of the 2-0 defeat that he wasn't there. That was due to injury. I think you have to remember this is starting now to be Gerrard's team, and if he wants a new captain, he's entitled to do so. He really is. And Mings obviously showed a classy support. That was obviously stated. I'm at the point where I'm kind of nearly 50-50 because I'm nearly feeling sorry for that. I mean, you can have a club captain and let's say like a match day captain. So let's say if Tyrone Mings is on the fringes of the squad, he's probably still the captain. And then if he comes on, he puts on the badge. That sort of thing probably would have been right. But at the same time, I hope for him that he does better because there's not the pressure of, him being the captain and, like people pointing the finger, you're the captain, you shouldn't be making the mistakes, you shouldn't be doing this. Now that John McGinn's captain, people will probably look at him more than Tyrone Mings. So I think it's all taken out of proportion just because of the shitty weekend. Judging by George's reaction to shitty weekend. So I just think it's all a little bit over dramatic at the minute. So because it's only new, it's only fresh, and then the loss at the weekend didn't really help anybody.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's absolutely fair. I mean, George, over the last couple of days, obviously there was a big sort of Twitter frenzy, and you've always got to be careful of going to Twitter to get all your news or get your views and stuff. But I've noticed the tide sort of changing over the days as sort of Gerrard hasn't necessarily come out in the press, it's kind of moved to if us as supporters or if us as a club want to be at the highest level, we've almost got to adapt to like the highest standards that Gerrard's setting. So if he doesn't think that Mings is good enough to be captain, or if he doesn't think that certain players are good enough, then we've just got to, they've got to step up or ship out. What do you say to that? I mean, on the flip side of that, there are players that are playing that, in my opinion, aren't playing very well. So it's almost like you can't pick and choose your players in a sense. But is it right to say that, he's a guy who's after the highest possible standards, and if players aren't hitting those standards, then they need to move on?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm normally one to sort of play situations like this down, but I'd probably have to disagree with Martin. I think this is a bigger story than what people want it to be. I think Gerrard's kind of he's needlessly come after Mings, really. I mean, so I heard a few things he said, and he was sort of like, he sniggered when he said we didn't lose the game Saturday because of Tyrone Mings.
Mm.
He sort of said it, the way he said it was like as if he just didn't rate Mings. And and I also heard the comments about he's saying he's got a niggle, but then he said the interviewer asked Gerrard. He said, "Is this a case of Mings is injured, or is it a reaction to him losing the captaincy?" And rather than just shut it down there and then, he said, "Oh, probably a bit of both." So I'm trying to work out what Gerrard is, what angle he's coming from. There's either 3 or 4 options. He's either wants Mings out of the team and out of the club, and he's gone this way about it to upset the apple cart, or he's challenging Mings to stand up and be counted and become a better player. And this is a funny way of going about it, but it could be a way.
Some managers do it differently, George.
Yeah, exactly. And also, is he just trying to lay down the law and use Mings as an example and say, "Listen, I'm the boss here, and I'm going to go straight for the captain, and I'm going to make an example of the captain, and the rest of you better shape up or ship out." I really don't know.
Kev?
Well, I'm kind of in both camps, which is like we'll have red, amber, and green. Gerrard's clearly not an idiot. He's a very shrewd guy. I think he's quite careful with his words, which is why I do think there is, as Fowler legend himself says, there is some meaning behind what he's saying. However, I also think sometimes what he says is taken a bit out of context, because I think the bit about when he says, when he looks me in the eye, is more about when he says to him, "Listen, boss, I'm ready to play."
I think that as well. I think people just took it way too far. It's like
he was questioning his character.
Yeah, it's like, look,
do you think he's too laid back, boys? I think that's what
players
Gerrard up.
Yeah, I think Mings is too late, but I actually do think that is one of the things that's always annoyed me a bit, is that you can put it as down as if you're a Rolls Royce of a defender and calm and berets, yes, that's fine, and maybe this is nothing to do with the reason why he makes mistakes sometimes on the pitch, because I think they get highlighted more. But every argument that Mings is, and I would still argue this point, from what I know about all of our centre backs, I think on his day, I think he's our best defender. I think when Mings is absolutely on form, throwing himself into tackles, knocking people out of the way, dominant in the air, I think he is. But obviously, he's got a mistake or two in him, as was shown last season. But I think sometimes we think that is because he's a bit lackadaisical with his approach, a bit casual.
Yeah.
He's a lovely bloke. I think he's done some fantastic things, obviously off the pitch as well. But you need someone as a centre half when you've got someone standards like Gerrard you can rely on. I've got no issue with him. End of the day, I backed Alex McLeish when he took over at the club. If you think he's the right manager for the club, I'll back you. I'm going to change my mind on that quite quickly. But like Gerrard, I'm annoyed at the result, and I'm annoyed at all of the narrative that the club's come out with, and then it just kind of looks like what the hell's going on. But I still back him. I still think he's got high standards. I still think he did a great job at Rangers. I still think he's built a squad which has got some real potential and is exciting. And he's not been there a year yet. It's easy to say, bin him off, it's not going very well. And I back him finally to make the decision he wants to make on who his captain's going to be. That is probably going to put a nose out of joint, despite the message that Mings put out in the press, right? And what's he supposed to do? And I think Gerrard sometimes is trying to probably be a bit too cute with the media, and they're taking some of the stuff that he's saying and twisting it a little bit. And then all of a sudden, Villa Twitter goes crazy. Gerrard out, Mings out, McGinn out. It's just gone mad, isn't it?
Thing is, though, sorry to jump in there again. If Gerrard didn't want a scene out of this, and I think I did tell you say this in the WhatsApp, why if he's planning on dropping Mings as captain and dropping him out the side at the same time, why not just say Mings? Why not just make McGinn vice captain? Then you drop Mings, so he's a sub, and then McGinn's captain, and you avoid all this bollocks rather than like putting a captain in, a vice captain in, a club captain in, bringing Diego Carlos in. It's rubbing Mings' nose in it, surely.
Yeah, but I suppose that's not really putting any faith in John McGinn, is it? That's like saying, "Oh, John McGinn, you're vice captain," but when Mings isn't playing, you're captain. It's like he wanted to make a big thing of McGinn being his man. Like you can't just, like I said the other night, Tyrone Mings is a big boy. Like we treat these players like they're babies.
Yeah.
Like they're not babies. They're paid like ridiculous sums of money to play football, and that doesn't discount them for being human beings, but that's their job. Like they've got to be able to take it. If you can't take criticism, or if you can't take the manager saying that he doesn't fancy you or whatever, and you're going to go run into your agent, then I don't want you involved in our club. Like you've got to stand up and be counted. And if that's a challenge to from Gerrard to Mings, then the guy's got to stand up and be counted. He's got to be big enough and ugly enough to take the praise. He can take the praise when everyone's throwing it his way. He's got to be big enough and ugly enough to take the criticism from the manager when it's coming.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I just add to that as well. Like I think it's like any job really. Unless you've got an ulterior motive as a manager, right? And you're trying to do something to further your career, whatever. Like Gerrard wants to prove himself in the Premier League as a manager. You know, someone who manages, a train station or an opticians, if they're going to be a bit off with their staff.
He's at it again with a comparison.
Listen, there'll be plenty more tonight. But you get my point. If you manage a business outside of football, what benefit have you got in antagonising your people?
What I was getting at, mate. The same.
You've got no benefit. So we don't know what. And sometimes, let's be clear, when someone leaves a job, I mean, we probably all know people that have been in the situation, maybe even ourselves. When they go to that new job, they never say, "I'll be honest with you, I'm a bit of a prick," or "I tell you what, I've got a bad attitude," or "I've got no standards when it comes to punctuality," or "I'm a bit toxic in the office and I'll spit you behind your back." What they'll say is, "My boss was a dick, the company was crap, the environment wasn't good." And all I'm saying to you guys now is that we're not going to get the full story. Maybe there's stuff going on. We don't know what's happening. And we're
we only get one side of the story every time, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't see what benefit he's got. He clearly doesn't fancy Mings as captain.
No.
And he clearly doesn't fancy him to be starting centre half. But there are also clear issues because of all the things we say about Mings, and I don't disagree with the fact that Mings has been off and last season has been a bit of a liability, but he's the only leader we've got in that back line. Maybe Carlos comes through to be it. So when you lose that leader and he's the best header of the ball and he's a big presence, so if you don't replace it with that kind of centre half, do you know what I mean? I could understand if Tarkovsky's got had the most headed clearances last season. I don't know if that's one of your stats, George, later on.
No,
so if you replace Mings with a Tarkovsky, I kind of get it from a presence perspective, or a Dan Burn type centre half. I'm not saying Carlos isn't going to be amazing, but you get my point. Like it feels like it was the right decision to do it. Now he's done it. People are moaning about the decision, rightly, because I think there's some valid points to make. I agree. But it's a bit of a rock on a hard place.
Yeah, it is. And if the biggest thing is, and we'll move on from this now, but the biggest thing is that if we'd have got the win on Saturday, nobody would have been talking about it. Nobody.
And that's what I was getting at earlier. The fact that we lost just added to the drama of this whole thing. Like you said there, Rich, if we had won, there'd be no mention of Tyrone Mings, there'd be no mention of Gerrard. He'd be praising how well we played as a team, and all of a sudden Kamara's the best defensive midfielder or Carlos is the best centre back. It's just the whole flip of the coin.
And we've been done on 2 set pieces as well.
Yeah, that's true.
And again, getting a yellow card for George's bet.
Yeah.
No.
The one way I am coming around positively to the result, and getting out of my little irrational moments at home and work of like just getting growling at my, at the mirror because I'm pissed off because we lost, right? Is sometimes something bad happening. There's always some good out of it. There's always some good out of it, and I think for our club, it was almost a bit too perfect, wasn't it? Pre-season, even though the performances weren't great, the results were good, and you go into the Premier League. Maybe you needed that little shock to reset the players, to make Kamara realise what kind of league it is, to make Carlos understand that. Hang on a minute, to make Konza think, crikey, if I want to keep my position in this team, people breathing down my neck, I need to play. To make Bailey realise that pre-season is different to the actual season. There's so many things I think we can take from it in terms of, is it going to be a little short, sharp shock? And that will be absolutely true if we see a reaction on Saturday.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what there, lads, just on ending the Mings debate, with everything that's happened, Mings is always like, it's always Mingsgate, isn't it? Everything, it's always news on Tyrone Mings. Somehow, Ezri Konza has collapsed in this last year and no one talks about it. What is going on with him? And what has happened to him? Because he looked like a star a year ago.
Yeah, like
I think we've mentioned it. I think we have mentioned that he's dropped off quite
Is it because Smith went? I don't know.
I think it's like I said earlier, like because Mings is the captain, a lot of the spotlight's on him. So it's kind of taken away from different players how they're performing. Like, McGinn hasn't been great for a few weeks. We pointed that out, but for some reason we still go back to Tyrone Mings because he's the captain, he's the club leader. So like now that it might be noticeable now for Konza to having a few bad games because Mings is not the captain, or might be noticeable now definitely for John McGinn not to have a good few games, or Coutinho, Kamara, whoever, because now it's going to be looked upon, because Gerrard did come out and say just because McGinn's captain doesn't mean he's guaranteed a spot, which is a weird thing, by the way. But that's probably now going to be the perception of Aston Villa for the next while.
Yeah. Well, that was a good impromptu little debate there, boys. That's what we're here for, and we've got some good comments, got some questions coming in, so we will go through viewer comments as we go on. But before we get into the preview, Everton, there hasn't been too much in terms of incomings, in terms of the rumour mill. One or two names, Raul de Thomas, the centre forward's been linked, but I don't know if that's more of an agent sort of trying to tout him around, because so many players he's been linked with every club under the sun: Villa, West Ham, Newcastle, etc., etc.
Players like that you don't need. It's really is players like that you don't need.
Yeah, but looking at outgoings, seem to be doing some work in the loan market. So Courtney Hawes and Keenan Davis look like they're on the way to Watford, George, seeing as though that's your stomping ground. What do you make of those moves if they're to come about?
Well, it's news to me, but lads, to be honest, it's literally the first I've heard of it. Is that it's just you saying that? Yeah,
I think it could possibly be loans as well.
Yeah, no, it makes good sense. Watford should have another good go at it this season, to get back up. It'd be nice again for Davis. I mean, me and Rich are sort of like we're big Keenan Davis fans, aren't we? But like we said the other week, he is made of glass, and he just can't ever get any momentum. And the loan he had at Forest last year, he's starting to wonder: is that his natural level? He's got all the attributes to be a good Premier League striker, but he doesn't score enough goals, as we all know. And mate, he looked at home, didn't he, last year at Forest? Maybe that is his natural level. And if he goes, good luck to Keenan. I'm a big fan. And Courtney Hawes, on the other hand, has never let Villa down, really. You know, he's a limited player, but he heads it, he clears it, he does what he says on the tin. And I think he could do well for Watford if he was to go there. Yeah.
James has just commented here that he's heard that Dennis might be coming the other way. Now he's one that I think Forest are after, or might have put in a bid, but would you take Emmanuel Dennis?
Emmanuel Dennis, I mean,
likes playing against Villa.
Oh, everybody does. Listen, I think he did well last season. He got about 10 goals, didn't he? But the thing is this: does Emmanuel Dennis make us any better? Is he a better player than Ollie Watkins? Is he better than Danny Ings as forward option? I'm not saying he's not a good player, but is he the kind of player that you think is really going to make us better, like a Raul de Thomas, for example? I'll tell you someone who I think might potentially make us better in a wide position. Talking about Watford, is Ismail Assar. Looks like he's going to Leeds, and he's their best player. He's a very good player. So, but
inconsistent though, Kev.
Well,
really inconsistent. Good on his day.
The other day,
one of our wingers, wouldn't he? If he want to be inconsistent, that's what we're after.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he definitely fit in with us. Yeah.
So Dennis, I think he's. I don't know. I'm not going. Oh my god, I'd love to get Dennis.
Yeah. I mean, it's going back to sort of players that were relegated, and I'm not saying that there aren't good deals to be had, but we're talking about high standards and players that push us on, and like you say, it's a debate as to whether someone like that is going to make us any better.
They all sacked it off last year for Watford, and in my eyes, you don't want players like that.
Yeah. Martin, another player that looks like he's going out to get minutes is Kane Kessler-Hayden, and there's a queue of clubs after him. Most likely looking like Huddersfield at the moment. Do you think that's a good move for Villa in terms of letting him go out? And do you think it's a good move for Kane Kessler-Hayden?
I don't think it's a good move at all. I want to see him as the number 2 because it looks like Freddie Gilbert is just completely frozen out of the team altogether. So if you're getting rid of Kessler-Hayden and you have a right back in Gilbert who's completely frozen out of the team, looks like he's going to be sold this month if an offer comes in, because if one offer comes in, Villa probably just take it and just say, yeah, go on. So I don't think that would actually be a good move at all, because I want to see him be a number 2. Like if Matty Cash gets injured, he can slot in, because he got a lot of praise last season for his performances against Man City. And then when he went to where did he go to? MK Dons after Swindon? Yeah. And he got a lot of praise out in that place as well, because it's just like, oh my God, who's this kid? Who's he playing for? Where did we get him from? And a lot of people were surprised to hear that Aston Villa, because a player like that, you would probably hear like Chelsea or Liverpool and Man United, so I want to see him be our number 2 now. So I don't think that's actually a good thing at all for Aston Villa. So I personally, I don't want to see it happen.
Kev, you're nodding your head there, mate.
I agree totally. I mean, what are your options? If Gilbert is frozen out and Kane Kessler-Hayden leaves, then you got Ashley Young as reserve right back. I mean, I don't, unless they've got something lined up. But I can't see the benefit of that happening. I even thought that last season. When there was times I was doing, Cash obviously didn't miss many games, but I thought, well, God, he looks pretty good alone. So I don't know. I mean, maybe there's more to it, but I would be surprised if we let him go, because then it leaves you weak, doesn't it? In terms of your cover, you've got Augustine's son, obviously he's back up to Dean, and you've got Ashley Young back up to Cashy. When you're trying to you're trying to aim for. They're saying they're aiming for Europe, so. Are they European? Is that a European fullback quartet? I don't know.
Yeah. It does seem a strange one. I mean, George, do you think it might be just getting some game time up until January or something like that? Put a clause in there for him to come back.
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, who knows? But I agree. I completely agree with the other 2 lads there. He's showed a lot of promise, hasn't he, in pre-season and last season? I think his time is now. I might be wrong, but I'd stick him on the bench now myself. I mean, Ashley Young, really, he's been given a new contract because he's good around the place. Don't get me wrong, been a great player in his day, a great player for Villa, but he's not the future, is he? And I'd be looking to go with him.
There's nothing I've seen from Kane Kessler-Hayden. This might be a crazy thing to say, that would even concern me if he was starting games for us. I don't think I've ever seen him. He's quick, he's strong, he's got good delivery. He's got good energy.
And surprisingly good in the air for his height. Surprisingly good in the air for his height.
Yeah, I think he's shown more in his fleeting appearances for us than Carney Chukwuemeka did.
And Tim and Big Tim as well. More like I've not seen anything from Eric Bonham that doesn't suggest to me that he couldn't play 5, 6 games in a row.
It'd be wise to put Tim on loan because of the amount of midfielders we have, and it looks like we're going to get one in. Apparently,
it's a different midfielder, isn't he? He's backup 6, isn't he? So
has he got on loan? Did you say there, mine?
No, he hasn't.
No, I'm just saying, like, it probably would be wise to put him on loan to get the game time because the amount of midfielders that we have. Because I don't think Gerrard's going to look to him as an option in some places. He might. It could be. The season's long, but I'm just saying the way it's looking at the minute, it could be an option.
Yeah, I think anything's up for grabs at the moment. I think Morgan Sanson could be going somewhere. I think. I think Tim could be going, like you say, could potentially be going somewhere. So there's a lot up in the air with the midfield at the moment. But one midfielder that does look like he is committing to Villa is Douglas Luiz. Now, a man who, again, I think you mentioned this, Kev, became all of a sudden a vital cog in our midfield when he didn't play on Saturday, but. Is equally a player who divides opinion almost as much as Tyrone Mings does within the fan base. So, how do you feel about a potential 3-year extension to his contract?
I like Luiz. I know I'm probably in the minority on this pod at times, but I like him. I think that playing further forward. I know he's probably people say he's had games he's played further forward. He hasn't done much. He's a quality footballer. He's just a bit inconsistent. But his touch, his technique, I mean, like anybody, you can see he's got ability. Does he score enough goals? Does he get enough assists? No, but I wouldn't be averse to him sticking around. He's Brazilian international, for God's sake. Like, he's early 20s. So I think can only be good news. And I do think he would do better in the more offensive positions. One person, just quick one on midfield that you didn't mention, but surprise, Martin, you didn't mention as well. Marvelous Lakamba, your best mate.
I was actually waiting on that.
Yeah, no. Well, you listen. You've talked about him like so much that I'm worried about. You might be something going on there. But he put there was a cryptic tweet I saw he put out today about, I can't remember what it was, but sort of stood by a Lamborghini or Ferrari or something and saying about how great he is.
On his Instagram, he bought the car and he just said something like, I don't know what it was. It was like an inspiring little one of them speeches.
Yeah, but it looked like, is it a little dig, about like the best to go again? Or I don't know what it was, something like, so yeah. We haven't seen much of him. I wouldn't be surprised if he left. And if he left, Tim's going no.
Yeah. With regards to,
I mean, it's great.
It's a marvelous name. But Martin, with Luiz, do you think, I mean, we'll go into our predicted lineups for Everton in a little while when we do the preview, but with regards to Luiz and playing in that number 8 position, would you be more happy with him in that position than say Jacob Ramsey at the moment?
Yeah. Well, Jacob Ramsey wasn't great at the weekend. Where was Jacob Ramsey the weekend? And unfortunately, like I said, it's a long season. It's only the first game. I'm not getting too into it. But I did say he's probably going to flop this season. Not because he's not a good player. It's just because he's hit a standard now. And he might not hit it to the level that he would want to hit it. So people are going to think of him as well, why didn't you do that? But I would rather Luiz now because it could probably bring out a new player because his contract situation is done with, and personally, I think he signed it because his girlfriend signed a new deal, didn't she? So,
if you're settled, if your family life and that, it can play a big part.
Yeah, so she probably was more than happy to stay. She was probably in his ear, and I think it might bring a better form into him now that, that I'm really now valued in this club because I've got a new deal. They didn't want me to leave when he probably had numerous of options. So I would rather him ahead of Jacob Ramsey at the moment. I think Jacob Ramsey just needs to kick up the arse that, look, you were doing well, but you slopped a little bit. Now this is where you are, so now you need to earn your place back. So young players like that just need that bit of a kick because, they get that adrenaline rush that they're doing well, they're doing this, and all of a sudden the settling starts to kick in that it doesn't matter what they do, they'll start, and then they just need a bit of a kick up the arse. So I just think Jacob Ramsey, he does. He needs to kick up the arse and put Douglas Luiz in for a while.
Fair. I mean, Aaron there, he's always one for the comments, but he actually does think that Luiz is a very good player, which is some real positivity there from Aaron. I mean, your thoughts, George, just quickly before we move on. Are you pleased, Luiz? I mean, obviously, James has said there it's better that he signs a contract than leaves on a free next season, just purely from a financial benefit as well.
True.
Yeah, I've been thinking quite hard about this actually today as I was going around my little post delivery, thinking about our midfield as you do. And I've come to the conclusion that, I've been critical of Luiz. Not as critical as Sam. Sam is the chief Luiz critic. I can't say that word. I'm not going to try anymore. But I've decided.
Maybe you can think about how to say that on tomorrow's tomorrow's post.
Yeah, but I've decided to give Luiz a new, oh God, I'm having a nightmare here. Basically, a fresh start, right? Because all we keep hearing was Luiz is not a number 6. He's not a holding midfielder. He's out of position, and he's never really got the chance to show it. But now we've signed Kamara. Kamara's supposed to be the holder, or if not, we've got Nakamba. We've got young Tim. Luiz is good in possession, so I think there's a space there for him this year. And I think the other space is going to be McGinn and Ramsey fight out because I'm thinking them two are too similar for me. They're both like a run into the box. They're both a bit ill-disciplined, but neither of them can keep the ball as well as Luiz. Luiz is a tidy player. He just doesn't graft enough for me. But I think with the balance, I think he could be the option in midfield this year. And as I say, I think it'll be McGinn or Ramsey, and Louise will be the partner.
Yeah. Well, like I say, I think the benefits definitely outweigh the negatives with him signing a new deal. 100%. You know, it's an asset that we've got if it doesn't quite work out from this season. But yeah, I'm in agreement with all of you lads. I think, you know, I've been a critic of Douglas Luiz, and I think there are elements where he does really need to improve. He can be casual on the ball a bit too much, and he can try and be a little bit too slow where he needs to be a bit quicker in possession. However, on the flip side, you know, when he's in that more attacking position, he does move with the ball well. He does keep possession well, and you know, he's a very, very technically gifted footballer, and he can get into the box and score goals. And you think, if you want someone to link up with someone like a Coutinho or a Buendia, then you know he's going to link up far better than a John McGinn does at the moment, unfortunately for him. So, you know, yeah, I definitely think it's a good move for us. Before we move on to the Everton preview, just wanted to say thanks so much for everyone for subscribing to the channel. We are now well over 200 subscribers, boys, and like I keep saying it, but I think it's nearly 3 weeks now that we've been running. And to get over 200 subscribers is just absolutely crazy. In the last couple of days, I'm not sure what's happened, but we're getting a subscriber a minute at the minute. So yeah, it's fantastic, the support that we're getting. Obviously, if you're listening as well on audio, thanks for listening as well. It's great. The support and the love that we're getting is fantastic. Please check us out on our socials as well. You know, we're on at Villa Park Pod, and we've all got our own individual Twitter handles as well. So yeah, get following us. Keep the conversation going. If you don't agree with us, fantastic. Put your points across. We'll obviously answer you back, and we'll have a discussion. You know, if you agree with us, even better. No, but seriously, we want to keep the conversation going, and it's great that we get people interacting with us. So yeah, thanks for subscribing. Keep spreading the word. Make sure you like this video. I mean, lads, the last episode we've done, I think it's well over 500 views on YouTube at the minute, and we're growing and growing and growing. So yeah, it's great that you all are supporting us.
So should I quit the J job then or what?
Say that again.
Should I quit the J job now or what?
Not quite yet, Martin. Not quite yet, mate. Not quite yet. So Everton on Saturday, boys. The 12:30 kickoff live on BT Sport. It's either gonna make our weekend, Kev, or it's gonna ruin our weekend.
Well, I think you should flash up Aaron's last comment first of all before we go into this.
I love it.
I know the lineup for Everton this Saturday. Aaron, 7 guinea pigs.
I'd be keen to know the formation for that, Aaron. Like, you're going to play this? Are the guinea pigs going to be like all together, like as a combined force? Nan and Grandad are going to play holding. I don't know what the crack is. Yeah, no, it made me laugh. Nice one, Aaron.
The mum and the grandmother are playing centre half.
Well, I reckon
might be better on set pieces.
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah. So what was your question, Rich, anyway? I got sidetracked there.
It's either going to make our weekend or it's going to break our weekend, mate. And, you know, with these early kickoffs.
Oh, do you know what? I was saying this last year on some of the pods, like, there was times when, like, my lad would play football and they'd lose, and then Villa would lose, and I'm just thinking, like, you know that song Blue Monday? It was Blue Sunday. It's just, like, sadness. So it's either going to be, you're going to give us that real shot of positivity, all the Villa fans. We forget about Bournemouth. It's old news. It's 3 points from 3. And, you know, as in the first game didn't happen. And on we go and everything's fine. Or I worry. I do worry. Honestly, if we go a goal down, it's the second game of the season. And I worry if we go a goal down, it's going to get a bit moody in the ground. So, yeah.
Yeah. Martin, Dom Phillips has commented earlier, so I left it to this. Do you think the Holt will roar on Saturday or turn on the players?
Great question. I think they'll roar on Saturday for the fact that it's the first day of the season. I don't think there's going to be any turning on the players. A bit too soon to be asking that question. So I think it's going to be a roar. I can't see us just turn on the players that quickly in the season. If we do, I'd be very shocked. Very shocked.
Yeah. I mean, even if it's, if Everton do sort of take advantage a little bit of the tension at the moment in the club and maybe go 1-0 up, do you think, what, like Kev says there, do you think it could get a bit tetchy?
Yeah, like if everyone go 1-0 up, I can probably just see the mood of Villa Park. Like, there could be this roar and this excitement, and if everything go 1-0 up, whether early on, it could be. You asked Kevin, didn't you?
No, I asked you, mate. I asked you. No, I'm just worried about I'm nervous for that fact. That's why I'm pulling this face, because it's like, we know what Villa Park's like. If it is going and the players do sort of put a real effort in and we go 1-0 up early, I think it'd be fantastic atmosphere. But if it does go 1-0, if we do go 1-0 down and we're not maybe showing any sort of intent, we're still trying to play this patient football. I think, that tension that you've risen there, Martin, I think it will happen.
Yeah, it's just going to be. I'm actually just seeing that comment there from Aaron. I think that's what you were laughing at, so I'm just trying to keep it together here. Yeah, it'll be. Actually, let's just move on. I need to laugh a little bit.
Right. Anyway, so George, we've nicknamed a new section for you called Statman George's Corner. So you're going to bring us a little bit of positivity, mate, to the proceedings. So, yeah, talk us through a couple of the facts that you had first, and then we'll talk about the head-to-head.
Yeah, sure. I had a little look earlier, and it was actually on the back of something Kev said the other day about early kickoffs, and I was like, I'm not 100% sure that's right. So I did have a little look, and actually at 12:30, we've been pretty decent recently. Obviously won 4 of our last 5 games at 12:30 on a Saturday. That is going back to 2020. That was a 1-0 away win at Wolves with a late El Ghazi penalty. It was the really good 1-0 win against Arsenal, and then it was the famous 1-0 win at Old Trafford, which that was our highlight of last season. I think we all said, and then finally it was the 1-0 win at Goodison last year, when Diaz scored. So
are you sure really, it's half-day kickoffs? Are you sure?
Yeah.
The
only thing that spoiled it was the Arsenal at home last year when we got beat 1-0, but otherwise it's not been too bad.
Great stat. I stand corrected, mate. It's a great stat. I won't be saying that again. Make myself look like a right mug.
So I will get hammered Saturday, and then it'll ruin everything I've just said, won't it?
And then Matt, our Everton fan, is joining us now, and he's just joining us on a perfect moment, Matt. So, George, do you just want to bring up your second fact there, please?
Oh, you're burying me here, aren't you? Yeah, I did notice I've been at most of these games, but Everton have literally not scored a single goal in their previous 3 visits to Villa Park since our return to the Premier League. We won 2-0 on the first one, and then there was a 0-0 draw, which I think we should have won that, and then we hammered them 3-0 last year. So it's not a bad record, I don't say, compared to our record against most teams these days.
Here we go.
Hello. How you doing, mate?
What's the story? How are you, lads? Can you all hear me? Yeah.
Yes, very well, thank you. Very well.
Oh man, nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too. We're just trying to spread a little bit of positivity at the moment for Villa, because we are a little bit tense at the moment particularly after Saturday's result and coming up against you boys on Saturday after a bit of a positive performance for you guys, even though it did end up in an unlucky defeat to Chelsea.
Yeah, to be honest, I was over in Liverpool for the game, but I couldn't get a ticket, so I was sitting in a pub in Liverpool watching the game. But I could. It was a very, very boring game. There wasn't really much going on. I don't think either teams had a lot of attacking threat really. But no. I have to say, I thought Everton defended really, really well in the game. Tarkowski's just going to be a joint for us this year if he stays fit. And the fact that we've brought Conor Cody in now is only going to help that. Like, it's a really bad injury for Ben Godfrey. The first 10 minutes into the new season, like he breaks a bone in his leg and he's going to be out for 3 months. So, but like I think there was 13 corners for Chelsea in the first half, and Everton dealt with all of them really, really well. So defensively, I'm very, very happy with the way Everton played against Chelsea. Like they dealt with Raheem Sterling really, really well as well. So, and Kai Havertz didn't really do much either. Going forward, it's going to be our issue this year, because the injury to DCL was apparently it was a clash in knees in training, so it was kind of a a freak injury, really. It wasn't the reoccurrence of a muscle injury or anything like that. So that's kind of the only positive for that. But hopefully when he comes back, we have kind of a bit more of an attacking threat, because as it stands, I mean, to be laying all our hopes on Solomon Rondon isn't the way to go. I know there's 3 weeks left in the window to get us forward in, but as you can tell by the signings we're bringing in, we really are penny pinching with the players we're bringing in, even though the players we're bringing in are really, really good.
Kev, what are you making of Everton in terms of, because I know we've sort of mentioned that they be in our previews that they're potentially going to struggle, but has the latest signings, particularly Connor Cody, changed your mind a little bit on Everton this season?
100%, yeah. And I thought Everton had them to go down in our season prediction show based on what I saw, and obviously they had the injury for DCL, and I just didn't think. I think you had enough based on what happened, and then all of a sudden you look like you've not quite re-signed Idrissa Gueye yet, but I think that's looked like going to happen. That Amadou Onana's really highly rated, good player, played for Belgium already, and a young lad. I think Cody's a really good Premier League defender. He's a leader. He's got a good character, good personality, and Tarkovsky's been great in the Premier League. So I think that when you add those two as centre halves, we had a couple of strong midfielders as well. There's a real steal. The only issue I think he's actually touched on is up top, but you're heavily linked with Broja, aren't you, from Chelsea? So on loan at Southampton last year. I'm not saying he'll be necessarily the answer, but I think he'll still be a decent option up top. So my view on Everton is now, I think they'll start comfortably now.
Yeah. I think it's going to be an interesting game, Martin, on Saturday. I mean, we'll go through our lineups in a minute, but what do you think we need to be wary of with Everton? Like, I know Matt said there about no real striker or maybe Rondon up front, but who's kind of worrying you for Everton at the moment?
That's the way I feel as well at the moment. I think just to jump in with Martin there, I think that the only positive I have is that we are setting up defensively a lot better than last year.
That's it.
That's the only thing. That's pretty much it. Sorry, Matthew. I think maybe their threat is probably going to be the set pieces with Cody and Tarkovsky, because they're very good in the air. They are very good in the air. So that's probably where the battle is going to be, is the set pieces for Everton. Like if everything else, no disrespect, Matthew, but I just don't see anything for Everton at the minute. It's still a good way to go in the transfer window. You could still get a player or two, and all of a sudden Everton could just like that little bit more of a threat. But coming to the weekend, no one's a threat. I don't see anyone that's going to worry me or, in an attacking situation, only probably for corners, for set pieces. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, Nick's commented there, it's got a set piece goal for Everton written all over it. And
exactly. So it just goes to show.
Is that a case of them just sticking in the game, Matt, and waiting for an opportunity to arise and just kind of holding out?
It could be sitting back, like, show like they're against Bournemouth. They sit back and make it really difficult for us. Like Matthew said there against Chelsea, and I watched a little bit of it on the weekend gone. Like they were drilled very well defensively. Chelsea, they only scored because of the penalty. Other than that, that was a 0-0 written all over it.
Yeah.
So. And a game like us, they'll do the exact same thing, and it will literally just take a set piece, because our defense switches off sometimes, and it's just that's the only way I see Everton winning that game, is a set piece goal, 1-0 written all over it. Anything else, it should be a Villa win. We should be comfortably beating Everton. We really should be. Off previous record, we should be.
George, back to your head-to-head and your stats. So, looking at that, mate. 22 wins, 54 in total played, 22 wins for Villa, 13 wins for Everton, 19 draws, 14 home wins for us, and only 4 away wins for Everton. Villa have got to be confident going into this game, haven't they, mate?
Well, yeah, going off that you do, but at the same time, you can't be disrespectful to Everton just thinking we're going to roll them over, because we're hardly fucking pulling up trees ourselves. And I think everything we just said there, I'm a bit concerned about the centre-backs at Everton, and I think that if they are going to get anything, that is how they're going to get it. But let's have it right. They've spent a lot of money over the last 5-6 years, Everton. you know, a lot of it hasn't worked out. But you know, you're looking at the wingers they've got. You're looking at what Andros Townsend, Awobi. You've got the young lad Gordon. There's a fair bit of strength in depth there. You know, he spent the money on the Minas. I know he's just got injured, isn't he? But you know, it's a decent side that I just think lost their way a little bit. And you know, and I think they were soft as shit last year. And I can see why Lampard has gone in and got a Cody, a Tarkovsky to set a base. You know, they always say, don't they, build from the back and get going. But going back to us, you know, it's one of the rare good records we've got left in against any teams in England. So you know, we've done them we've done them the last two at Villa Park, and we're under pressure ourselves. And I think we really need to go and get the result. And I do fancy us. I think we will get it in front of our own fans.
Yeah, Matt, what do you see in terms of Everton's lineup? Do you see like the new signings starting straight away? I know you brought Onana in for like over 30 million. You've maybe Idrissa Gueye coming in. Obviously, Cody's in. Do you see all them starting?
I can see Cody starting simply because we got injuries to Mina and Godfrey. I think he'll slot straight in there with Tarkovsky, and I think Holgate will probably play. I like Holgate if he's beside a Michael Keane, he's a liability. But if he's with somebody like Tarkovsky who's in his ear talking to him, telling him where to go, he's actually a very, very good centre half. But it's literally, it depends who he's playing with. He could really be really poor, make a real hash of things, and then like literally loads of mistakes leading to goals. But I think we'll start with the kind of same formation that we had. I think Everton might start literally with the exact same team in terms of shape. Play Anthony Gordon through the middle, Dwight McNeil and Damari Gray alternating wings. And I don't see us starting Onana for the simple fact is that he's probably only trained twice with the team. I can see him coming on because of the 5 sub rule. I can see him coming on, and maybe if by any chance we go 1-0 up in the game with 20 minutes to go, I can see Frank Lampard just packing the midfield and then hoping the worst we come away with as a point. But I don't know. I think it's going to be one of those games where I think the first goal is going to be vital. I think if Villa get it, I think he might win 2 or 3-0. If Everton get it, then it could be just one of those games where Everton literally put 10 men behind the ball and just hope for the best and literally try and catch us on the counter. Because against Chelsea, there was a couple of instances where Everton broke really quickly down the wings, but there was nobody in midfield to kind of follow it up.
Yeah.
And they kind of had to turn back and play it kind of back to the wing backs. And that's the only real way I can see Everton maybe causing any form of threat, is that if Villa are pushing for a goal, and then Everton just break down the wings, because we have Patterson and Michaelenko who are very, very quick. And if you put them with Dwight McNeil and Damari Gray switching wings, I don't know why he put Anthony Gordon through the middle, because he's not strong enough to kind of hold off 2 big centre halves or 3 big centre halves. He's not strong enough. And if we're playing counter attacking football, that's the only switch I think they might make, would be maybe take out Dwight McNeil or Damari Gray and maybe start Rondon up front just to be a battering ram. That's the only kind of change, because Rondon was suspended for the last game. That's why he didn't play.
Right.
But
they love a wide man there, don't they? I didn't even think of McNeil and Damari Gray. That must be what, 5, 6 wingers you've got?
Yeah, considering 2 seasons ago we didn't have one winger. Yeah. So it's just the way I think that was obviously a part of the team that we needed to bring players in, and we got Townsend and Damari Gray in for less than 2 million combined, and Townsend was actually very, very good for Everton. Like he was our top goal scorer last season at one stage until he got the injury against Crystal Palace in the cup. Yeah. And then like the only thing for Everton is they have to replace Richarlison's goals. I know he only scored 10 goals and 6 assists. But it makes a huge difference in the season. It's massive. It's massive. Like Anthony Gordon's not going to get 10 goals, 6 assists. Damari Gray's not going to do it. Dwight McNeil's not going to do it. Rondon's definitely not going to do it.
You definitely need it.
We have to get somebody in, because we like at the end of the day, like DCL's injury. Yeah, it's a shame that it was literally during training 2 days before the season started. But we can't rely on him because his muscles just seem to tear up sometimes. So, and if you're coming back from a different injury, usually another injury flares up. So I just think we need to get somebody in, even if it's just we can't rely on Rondon for the whole year. We just can't rely on him. Like he works his heart out, but I think he's just getting a bit slow at this stage. Like if you want to throw him on for the last 5 minutes just to wreck people's heads, yeah, perfect, go for it. But I think what's the only way we're going to get Broja in is if Chelsea bring in a striker, and it looks like they're going for Aubameyang off Barcelona. So if they bring him in, then Broja's going to say, I want to go out and loan. That's the only way I'm going to see us getting him.
Yeah. Let's go on to Villa's lineup now. So we've got your ideas, Kev. We've got yours, Martin, rather than everyone doing theirs. So I'll come to you first, Kev, and put your lineup on. So you've gone Martinez in goal, back four with Cash, Callum Chambers, who I think might have been ill or had an illness just before the weekend, and Carlos at centre half, Luca Dean left back, Kamara, McGinn, and Coutinho in that number 10 position, and then you've gone with the front three of Watkins down that left-hand side, Leon Bailey on the right, and Danny Ings still up front. So yeah, talk me through that, mate. What your decision making on that? No Buendia in there, which is interesting to see. But you're not 100% sold on Buendia still, are you?
No, I do like Buendia, but when I thought about the team, I thought Ings has only really played well for us in a 2. You think after the performance last weekend, Watkins is going to come back in, and he's played him in a 2 quite a lot at Villa Park. So I thought, well, he's going to play those 2. Is he going to play him in a front 2? I thought if you play a front 2, my brain was all over the shop with this. So I was like, well, where'd you fit Bailey in? Where'd you fit Coutinho and Buendia? And you can't square the circle. And then I thought maybe McGinn drops out, but absolutely no way is he going to drop Mings one week and then McGinn the next week. He's just it's not worth the grief of like, what? You drop the captain and the vice captain. So we'll drop captain 1 and captain 2. So I just thought, you know what? I think it'll probably be that kind of front 3, but maybe they'll interchange.
Yes.
I'd love to get Buendia in, but I can't see him after Coutinho doesn't play very well in one away game, which we know. I can't see him dropping Coutinho for the first home game of the season. Although that being said, I was thinking all the talk about the game, Everton, Villa, whatever, it's probably going to be a really shit game because it's going to be about 32 degrees at lunchtime on Saturday. So it's going to, I'm thinking whichever team has got the most players from like South America or Africa or Asia, somewhere where they're used to like ridiculous heat, you know, whoever's got the most British players in the team, they're probably going to struggle the most because it's just going to be, I can't see it being a very good game. In fact, I'm not envying anybody who's going to be sat in the dugout stand because the sun's going to be right on your boat race at midday on a Saturday.
Well, they are going to have drinks breaks, apparently, additional drinks breaks. So.
Oh, the players.
Yeah. I don't know about the fans. The fans will just, especially if it's 1-0 down. Yeah.
Kev, just jumping in. Kev, another little stat which will surprise you, and it'll probably surprise all you boys. We're always moaning about Ings and Watkins as a pair, aren't we? And how they don't do it. They've had 11 games together, 5 wins, 2 draws, and only 4 defeats. 45% win rate as them two as a pair.
The stat man is back. Yeah, good.
It's a surprise, though. You wouldn't have called that, would you?
No, and I think you do need Coutinho with those 2 to be able to find them. I think you need that. And I think actually one thing I thought the fall guy might be Bailey, but then I'm thinking with his pre-season form, again, do you pull him out first home game of the season? So, but then I'll be really surprised, even though I've not put him in my team, if Buendia doesn't start with the clamour for him. So who knows?
Yeah. I mean, Gerrard might go and just put the same team out and just say, you know, prove me wrong from last week, prove that you deserve the shirt. Still, I don't know. It's so hard to say. Martin, your team, not too different to be honest, but we've gone with Martinez in goal. You've gone the same back four, Cash, Callum Chambers, who I think from a lot of people's opinions on social media and across various other podcasts was potentially unlucky not to start. Maybe had an issue. Carlos, and then Luca Dean. Then we've got Boubacar Kamara, John McGinn, and Philip Coutinho in the number 10 slot again. You've gone for Buendia on the left, Watkins up front, and Leon Bailey on the right. So Danny Ings is missing out for you.
Yeah, for me, Danny Ings is not a lone striker. He needs a partner. It's as simple as that. Like, look at every club he's been at. Burnley, he had Ashley Barnes, you know, feeding off him. He was feeding off Che Adams because Che Adams was the workhorse. And he's come to Villa, and now I'm surprised, George. You really shook me there with your little stat, you know.
Hey, I was shocked myself, guys.
Yeah. So, and he's not a lone striker. It really does show when Danny Ings plays on his own. it's like we're playing with 4 defenders, 5 midfielders. So I think that's where Watkins should probably start on his own. I would like to see Buendia start. I really would. Probably him and Bailey just swapping the wings, just keeping it rotational, maybe even Coutinho, the 3 of them probably swapping around. So they're the changes I've gone with. I probably could have gone with Louise, but
that's what I did.
Yeah, I probably should have went with Louise over McGinn. But
yeah, like Kev said, he's not going to drop his captain.
It was really hard for me to kind of just drop McGinn, and I want to see Kamara settle into the Premier League. Like, you have to give him a chance. So
5 subs as well, like Matt said before. 5 subs it makes a big difference.
Actually, it makes a huge difference for every single team. And I think Jacob Ramsey now, this is the game where he needs to kick up the arse, just because it's against Everton. They're not really doing too well at the minute. Just because they're not doing too well at the minute doesn't mean I'm starting. So this would be the perfect game for Jacob Ramsey. You get a kick right up his arsehole, because he needs to be dropped for this game and be shown that, right, I need to lift it up now and cement my place in the team. So everything else, me and Kevin are really similar, so I'm not going to try and go into it too much.
Yeah, no, fair. Before we get predictions and stuff, boys, and wrap it up and go through some comments, Matt, who is there any, who out of that Villa team, are you concerned about in terms of, facing up against Everton?
Obviously, the Villa team is riddled with talent, right through the team. Obviously, I know a lot about Luca Dean. And like the midfield obviously is stacked with talent as well. Ollie Watkins and Ings up front as well. Like, they're very, very good in their day. I just think the only issue that Villa have is putting it all together, and becoming a team. I think sometimes they just from the games that I've watched of them, a lot of their kind of attack and play sometimes breaks down, and they don't really play as a team like a lot of the time. Now, you might correct me if I'm wrong, but
all icing, no cake.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just, if they can put that all together, they've the makings of a fantastic team. And I've said it to Martin as well through our own chats and stuff like that. Like, it's either gonna, with all the money spent, it's either gonna work out really, really well, or it's gonna fall on its arse. It's literally a flip of a coin. It's happened at Everton. That's why I said to Martin, it's a bit of deja vu for me. I mean, giving players 120, 130, 140 grand a week, that's their Champions League wages. That's not middle of the table Premier League wages. You can't get away with that. No. So if Villa have another year of 10th, 11th, 12th, questions are probably going to be asked, because you can't just keep spending 100 million pounds every window and giving players 150 grand a week and finishing 12th. It's not going to work. It happened at Everton. We've gone through 8 managers now, so, and we have Rondon up front.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, bang on, mate, bang on. Yeah, so we'll go through some comments. Thank you ever so much for all your comments, guys. It's much appreciated, and we'll try and read as many out as we can. As I said before, please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. We're well over 200, on the way to 250, maybe even 300, hopefully after the weekend, and Villa get the win. James is confident that Coutinho will get a free kick. From 29 meters, is that?
Okay. He probably will get a free kick, but it doesn't mean he's going to score it.
Yeah. LC Villa, thanks for watching, mate. Gerrard's got a worse record than Smith and even Gary Neville at Valencia.
Thanks for reminding us there.
Yeah, I know. It's great.
I didn't see enough of that on Twitter. Fucking me.
I know.
And for me.
I'm not sure what the comparison with Gary Neville's got to do with anything, but
Not even joking. Matthew was having a field day with that. He was like, Gerrard this. And you know what? Lampard's getting all the stick. Like,
I have to say, I think you probably had a chat about Lampard and Gerrard already, but I do think there's a bit of a media bias towards Gerrard, and he's getting away with it a lot. Like, I think, like anytime any media outlet puts up it's the sack race and it's a picture of Lampard right at the front of it, I think he's getting a lot of stick, and I don't think it's really deserved.
I think Hasenhüttl's probably the one at the head of the sack race at the moment, to be honest.
I have one left field for you. I think Brendan Rodgers at Leicester.
Maybe.
That's a shout.
maybe.
That is a very
Maybe.
good shout.
Yeah. Aaron's always very entertaining for us. You watch someone like Iwobi will get his first hat trick. That's what Villa do. Stevie Wonder would score a brace. I knew the positivity from Aaron wouldn't last as long as we want. Yeah. Matt, a good question for you. What do you think of Luca Dean?
Oh, here we go. Don't trigger the lad, please. Don't trigger this.
No, listen, I loved him. He was pretty much when DCL was fit under Carlo Ancelotti, he was our main creator, really, from a left back position. He is a bit ropey defensively. I think that's why he probably plays better in a back five, kind of as a wing back. So he has that kind of extra cover on the left hand side of centre back. But no, I think he's a very, very good player. I just thought we got a good deal in terms of 27 million for a 29-year-old, and the wages they're giving him as well. Like, you aren't going to have any sell on value in him, but I do think he is a very, very good player for the here and now for you. And listen, I think he has a free kick in him as well if he gets given the chance over Coutinho. But I think he'll probably come up with probably 5 to 10 assists for you this season. So he's obviously a very solid attacking left back here.
Well, I said the day we signed him, they all laughed at me, but I said, sign Luca Dean. I said, go to Palace and get Christian Benteke back. We've got someone banging in crosses all day long. Get Benteke back and he'll score, but the boys was not having it at all.
Well, so DCL scored 15 goals, and I think Dean assisted 7 of them, I think. So
yeah. I was just going to say, I think that's where the problem is for us, is that Villa, when we create chances, we're not scoring enough. We don't actually create enough chances at the best times, but it's all well and good having balls going in the box. You need someone who's going to finish them.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Ross, great show, guys. I'm just hoping Villa might be able to score a goal. Aren't we all, mate? Aren't we all?
Ross, mate, me too.
Alan Parry, I think Everton will try and start quickly and get an early goal, but if they don't get it, they will run out of ideas.
Is that the Alan Parry?
I don't know. I was hoping it might be.
That's my mate. That's my mate's name. I wonder if that's him.
Nick, I think Villa will definitely start quickly. One worry is silly rash tackles that result in a free kick from dangerous areas. Yeah, well, it was told to Villa players on Saturday to not give needless set pieces away, and lo and behold, we did it after a minute and 50 seconds. So, yeah, it's something that we need to definitely work on. Aaron with the positivity again. Anyone can beat our gutless players. I just hope we get a win for Aaron. I just hope we get a win for you, mate.
I want to see Aaron's good. I really want to see Aaron's good.
Yeah, James. Don't forget we've got Bolton on Monday. I think that's the Monday after, isn't it?
We get in Monday 22nd, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. When we've previously had a bad result, he seemed to come back with Watkins and Ings, so I reckon he will do that. I suspect Watkins will come in for Bailey and Buendia will come in for Ramsey. Yeah. And that might be your mate. He's not biased.
Yeah, that sounds like it, mate.
Yeah, good stuff. So, boys, just before we finish up, very, very quick predictions and a quick tip of the day from you, George. So we'll come to you last, mate. Kev, quick prediction on Saturday's result.
I think it'll be 6-1 Everton.
That's what I was going to say.
Rondon, Kevin Ratcliffe will get a couple. Ian Snowden,
Graham Sharp,
Tony Cotty.
Yeah, John Eberl. No,
Bill Kenwright.
2-1 Aston Villa.
2-1 Villa. Who's scoring?
Chambers is going to score. And then his Brazilian teammate Coutinho is going to score as well.
Hey, nick my idea.
Oh, right, Martin. James has said 2-0 Villa, Watkins and Bailey. What are you saying?
I said 2-1 Villa earlier, and then Matthew annoyed me, so I'm saying 3-0 Villa because you annoyed me in Tyreek's stream. So, and I was just like, you know what? Fuck you when you're a goal, Matthew. I'm saying 3-0 Villa. I think it'll be a Watkins brace, and I'm going to go with a rare goal for Luca Digne. I think Luca Digne might score.
He scored last time when he come to Villa Park, didn't
he?
Yeah.
Little flick header own goal.
Yeah, so
Agent Digne.
Yeah. So that's what I'm going with. Sorry, Matty. I'm not sorry.
Matty, from an Everton point of view.
I don't know. I think if you'd offer me a draw now, I'd probably take it. But I think if Everton turn up, I think we can win the game. So I'm going to say, my heart says 2-1 Everton, but my head says 1-1. But I'm going to say 2-1 Everton.
Good man. Good man.
That's our 7-1 prediction earlier, no?
No. Just take it. No.
Aaron saying Villa 1, Everton 2.
Aaron, relax me.
Another Aaron is saying, love the audio podcast, lads. Great to put faces to the voices now you're on YouTube. Thanks a lot for tuning in, mate. That is much appreciated. Up the Villa. So George, give us your tip of the weekend first, and then give us your score prediction.
Yeah, tip of the day, provided he plays. I really like the look of Callum Chambers. He's 28-1 with Sky Bet to score the first goal. If he starts, he banged one in pre-season. What did he score last year? 2 or 3 goals, maybe? He did okay, didn't he? And he's 12-1 any time as well. So I thought that was a really good shout. And as for my prediction, Kev, you mullered the whole thing. 2-1, Coutinho and Chambers, mate. That's exactly what I was going to say, and you got in there first.
It's all right, mate. Great minds.
Yeah, maybe we'll go halves on a little bet.
Yeah. As always, please gamble responsibly, people, and make sure you are over 18 and you ask. Please gamble responsibly, as I just said.
I don't think putting a $5 on Chambers is gambling responsibly, but
yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
I don't think betting on Villa is gambling responsibly.
No.
I don't think betting on any of our teams is gambling responsibly now.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. No. I'm going to go 2-0 Villa, and I'm going to say Watkins and Coutinho to score, and hopefully just calm us down a little bit. Lads, it has been an absolute pleasure. Matt, thanks so much for joining us.
No problem.
Best of luck for the rest of the season, and but hopefully not on Saturday. Boys, it's been another pleasure. Thank you for everyone watching. Please follow us on our socials, Philipot Pod at KTAVFC, at Fowler Legends, at Martin Bernardo. And all that's left to say is, remember, we all follow the Villa. See you later, everyone.
Up the toppies.
Hey.